Hello, Dr. Michael Fisher here. Well, Marianne Williamson is not giving up. The fighter is back. We're going to not only talk about Marianne Williamson today, but the Marianne Williamson phenomenon, the presidential phenomenon, her political phenomenon as she enters the public sphere. And no more have I ever seen, I have to say dramatically as I am here. I'm seeing her walking on new legs. I'm seeing her walking with new horns. I'm seeing her beyond herself. I'm seeing a phenomenon that is a doppelganger, a mirror of Donald Trump. Well, not just, she really is becoming a mirror of the best and the worst of what I see as a political leader getting caught in the machinations of the political and economic system, regardless that she's a spiritual leader with holistic potential and capabilities to see vision of a new future, a politics for the 21st century, a politics of love. All of that is my intro to Marianne Williamson and what's latest, folks. So latest, I'll get to very quickly here. The newest for me is that I got a really extensive interview by Layman Pascal on Integral Stage, a really good interviewer, and that's a link I'll put below. So that was about a week or so ago, and really the first time somebody's really read the book, The Marianne Williamson Presidential Phenomenon, that I wrote in 2021, and really did a little analysis and then got back to me, and we had a really good conversation, very deep into the phenomenon of this campaign for Marianne Williamson and what I predicted would be the future. Well, I predicted she will drop out very soon. I've predicted that for a long time, but I'm now predicting it and watching her not drop out, but sort of drop out. Get to that in a moment. So, want to just read a quote by her recently from January 13th, 2024. She's in New Hampshire, right, running for the primaries. And she says, for whatever reasons, you meet the best and the worst of what humanity has to offer. And I haven't figured that out yet. End of quote. I go, really, Marianne? You've not figured out why politics, the way it's structured, brings out the best and the worst? Okay. Then Marianne Williamson, in an interview for the Humanist Report recently, late December in 2023, she's kind of showing and complaining about her invisibilization, which is a very big trope for her, a big theme for the underdog, right, against the big machine of the Democrat National Committee and the whole entire Democratic Party, as far as she's concerned. But she's also talking about the whole public media and the mainstream medias and so on that invisibilize her as well. Definitely some truth to it. How much energy and emphasis she gives to that argument and her need to keep troping the trope and keep repeating it as if it's an obsessive compulsive behavior to complain about, I'm being invisibilized, poor me. Well, it doesn't go over well for a presidential candidate, I can tell you that. And I'll get to why I think she's not so much a presidential candidate, probably never was. She was a message candidate and an activist, and still is. Anyways, let's get to a quote from her, which she calls, we're short of money, we're running on fumes. This is the Marianne 2494 campaign, which you can donate to if you wish. She's been pumping out the emails 2 a day at times, especially in December, to try and get more money, and into January. And then once the New Hampshire primary ran and the votes were counted, she didn't do so good. She bombed 4.7% of the vote, far behind her running competition with Dean Phillips for the Democratic Party. Joe Biden, of course, completely won that primary, even though that primary doesn't count for delegates. Another story, but not important. Let's just listen to hers because it's relevant to what I'm going to get to in my critique at the end of this video on the Marianne Williamson presidential phenomenon, the twisting of what's happened, and no doubt, not surprising, the corruption of power and playing in games of big power and what happens to a wonderful, soulful candidate like Marianne when she started her political intentions. Now, let's just listen to it for a moment. Think of this, is this a president talking, or who is this? Someone trying to be president, or someone just being a pissed off activist, trying to make the world better and certainly speak voice for the voiceless and the suffering? Quote, on the left, complaining about the political left now, another one of her tropes, there's this reverse elitism for whatever reason. Here again, she's like, for whatever reason, I don't understand why. It's almost a feeling of, well, we want what she said, so-called the left says to her, but we just wish it wasn't her. Or let's just not send her money or whatever. So the blockages have been pretty extreme, end of quote. When people listen, starting another quote, Marianne Williamson, when people listen, when people actually show up, I have a lot of people, even among the people who agree with me politically. People who opine about my books, however, who have never read my books, who have this stereotype of my career, my personality, who know nothing about me, so they won't come and hear me. Well, when people come hear me, we're gold, end quote. Well, that may be true, but the gold is in short supply. And Marianne Williams has never been able to come up with the $30,000 a day average that she says she needed back in December. She won't be able to continue campaigning and doing the work that she needs to do to win an election. And my guess is in a couple of weeks, she'll be out completely and very broke. Sadly, I don't say that with enthusiasm. But here's the latest. So let me put it in a nutshell what has transpired in the last week since the election in New Hampshire. She comes out really way below where she'd like to be, and she's quiet for 4 days. Doesn't say a thing. Okay, she shows a picture of some nice pretty birds, which she likes to do on her Twitter once in a while, showing that, okay, she's sort of okay, or she's still got perspective. And you got to think of all the people who have put money in, who are donating, tons and tons of people. I get her newsletter regular. There's no newsletter for 4 days. So we don't really even know what's happening to her. We do not know if something's happened to the team. We do not know if people have crashed and collapsed very painfully and hurtfully underneath this failure, massive failure of not coming through with the votes, which she thought she would in New Hampshire. It was supposed to be this pretty favorable state for her, but it didn't happen. No gold and very little. And so that alone was to me a type of abandoned neglect on her part as a leader. So again, remembering, if you've watched any of my videos, this is about the 8th or 9th one on Marianne Williamson, and I've done many videos on other leaders, world leaders, and more local leaders or not so known leaders. I'm very fascinated by leadership as a phenomenon and process, certainly in the context of the kinds of changing and dynamic world that we're in. And definitely Marianne Williamson, as far as I'm concerned, and her team were inadequate in responding and keeping us in touch with what's going on. And it was only at one small email at some point said, more or less, I'm still thinking of carrying on, but I'm not convinced yet. I need to think about it more. And she just said, don't take anybody else's word of what's happening to me after this election failure. She didn't say failure. After this election in New Hampshire. But take it from me and wait for me. I will get back to you. So I noticed that she waited and waited. I was like concerned. There could be actually serious problems going on, crises. Can we help? None of that. So she did not communicate well. It was, to me, pathetic communication with a base, a support base that you've crafted and pumped with email after email and Twitter after Twitter and newsletter after newsletter, 2 a day, as I say, always asking for more money, putting out your message and so on. All fine, but okay, well, then when you fail, like where are you? Like, tell us what's going on. We're with you. We're on the team. Well, it was kind of elitism in a very undermining way for her. I think it's really shooting herself in her own foot in her critique of elitism of others, where she just felt she doesn't need to tell her public, her base, what's going on. No, not a good move. Really not good at all, and not well thought. And her team is as much responsible for that as her. I'm talking about the promotion team, right? Her campaign team. All that aside, then what does she come up with in the fourth day or so after this New Hampshire election? In comes the email, Twitter, everywhere, but in the newsletter where you get sort of the first message, because I've signed up to the newsletter, as many others have. And she says, okay, basically, I thought I was going to drop out. I was starting to craft the letter. I did the video, short video, and I was going to put it up and basically say, what wisdom is to drop out now, be honest with myself, and so on. And then she said she thought about it some more. Obviously, she's talking to people. I don't know who and how much. But what I do know is she likes to run the show, and she likes to run it her way, pretty much completely. I've talked about her again as an alpha male leader, and she's basically said, this is how it will be done. I will decide. And so then she comes out and says, okay, I changed my mind on those, and said, no, let's fight for it. Let's pull out the horns. Let's pull out the big engines, the big weapons, whatever, the big boots, so we can kick some butt. That language she likes to use. From Texas. And then she comes out and basically says, I decided, I can quit this campaign. I can go back to my life. I can live very comfortably and my career will carry on and blah, blah, blah. But she says, but I feel too connected to the suffering and other people's lives who won't carry on so great, and especially under a Biden and or Trump victory, which is to be suspected that probably is the case. It's either or them that will run for the president of the United States, with some question marks for Trump for sure. And then basically she said, I couldn't live with that. For now, anyway. So for the next 11 days, she says, we are going to pump out media. Now, this is all the little video clips, the repetitive clips from past interviews. They've got a lot of people working on making clips, so they're pumping those out on the internet. I see them all over the YouTube and so on. The 1 and 2 minute, videos promoting. And she says Nevada, because she says we're not going to win anything in North Carolina. We're done for. So South Carolina, sorry. And she says we're done for there. So she's already like given up on South Carolina, which I thought, whoa, okay. That's a pretty big presumption. No doubt some partial truth, but you're not going to try. It wasn't a good message. It just felt like, well, there's South Carolina's gone. Let's go for Nevada. It's like, no, you're the president of the United States. That's the job description you're doing, Marianne. You said yourself. It's a job description for president of the United States. Well, act like it. Act like you care about every state and not just act like it. Feel it. Get it. So I felt she really rubbed off South Carolina, written off for her just because she's not going to get votes. And I go, that's not a leader. That is not a visionary leader. That is not how you think or you talk to your base, which is the American people that you care about so much. So what was happening is her shrinking kind of mentality and analysis of what's important, and it's coming down to like vote punching and competition over and over. And this is the phenomenon that's happening. This is what Marianne Williamson is being drugged through, kicking and screaming. She's creating some of that dynamic, but the environment, her team, politics itself in America, and this desperation that's there, I really believe I see and hear a huge desperation underneath her motivating forces. Could that be fear-based? Yeah, probably. Is it love-based? Probably not as much as it should be. And she's, remember, the architect of the politics of love. and the book that was published in 2019 under that title. This is not me making this up, folks. Is she going to live her own words, her own theory, her own philosophy of leadership in this time? And I'm saying a lot of fault lines and being really pushed around by this political agenda she has to be the big bull out there, the Texan bull that's not giving up and is going to keep punching. Oh, am I exaggerating? Well, I'll tell you why I'm not exaggerating. Is because she started her campaign, which I really loved the language that she was using. She was still tough. She was still able to be very assertive. But she comes out and she says, I'm interested in healing the polarizations, the enemy making, the divisiveness of what's happened in American politics, and of course, the ethics that's been damaged underneath, yes, corporate powers, government sleeping with the corporate powers, and so on, but that we've lost the fabric of the American society and the true principles, of the independence, legal constitution the country was founded on hundreds of years ago. She's a big player on that. She likes that card. She pulls it out, and then she says, my campaign, again, I'm going back to 2018, late when she threw her hat in for presidential run, is about healing the soul of America. And she has a book with that very title in 1997, which is her analysis of American historical political scene, and her vision and her sense of interventions are mentioned in that book. Very good book, way ahead of its time, but willing to say, I'm here to heal the soul of America, but I'll need your help, she said. Okay, Marianne, so you need our help. This is great. You've got the great vision, healing the soul of America. But on the end of this recent little 2-minute, 4-minute video where she's saying that I'm going to stay in, I'm going to go after it. I can't just leave people suffering. I have to fight for their voice and give them voice so that the American people, especially in Nevada, have a chance to vote the alternative, right? So this is the strategy. But here's what she calls the strategy. Name of the video, actually, that she put out. It's called Smashing the Machine. And she has in that video, come on out, support me. Let's go smashing the machine. She knows she's not going to win president. That part's done. Wished it wasn't. She wished it wasn't. She wished she was more popular. She's not. And again, all the tropes of complaining, the reasons why. And typically, always looking at other people and what they're causing. That's the problem, why she's invisibilized. Partly true, but I don't see her owning enough of her own reflective self-criticality, and that means the team 2024. Whenever I say Marianne Williamson, that's intricately connected with the team. You have to look at all her advisors and who's on that team working with her and what they're talking about and not talking about, and strategizing about, etc., and what kind of expertise they have brought in, etc. But the reality is she moved from healing the soul of America as a political leadership vision to smashing the machine. Okay, it sounds sort of cheerleady, let's go smash the machine, and she'll probably get a few people that, yeah, they're going to still pay money, support her to go out and do this in Nevada. We'll see what those polls come in as, right, in that primary coming up in I don't know, a month or so. And that, in a way, to me, is quite irrelevant to what I'm analyzing here and sharing with you is my insights to what happens to a presidential candidate under the pressures. And I wondered about the consciousness of Marianne Williamson. Would it be able to resist falling into this kind of activism, messaging campaign, staying in there because she can get a lot of PR and her message, which is good message generally, but it's basically an activist battle. And she's saying, I'll just use the presidential campaign for that battle. let's go smash the machine. What she's talking about is the entire establishment, and that includes the Democratic National Committee and the Democratic Party and government itself. It's just like, and then you what? You're just going to go smashing the machine, and that's the answer? Or like, no, this is like satisfying your personality of and your team and many others of just feeling all this defeat and the shame that goes with that. It's like you're trying to save face. And that's my argument here is it's a very psychological and very personalized. She makes it sound like it's not just personalized, it's about the other people suffering more than me. And I just like, no, that's not what I receive. That's not the message I'm getting when I put all the patterns together. And I've studied that for 5 years straight. So I see the bigger pattern. And what I see is a very self-serving patterning that's coming through with her virtually kind of dictatorial leadership within that campaign office and program and design of it. And that's sad because there ought to be strong people in there that can guide that leader. If they'll let, if she'll let them or not, they still need to give her bigger pictures. And they may not be doing that. No, she may not have any real good strategists other than how to get out lots of YouTubes, how to appeal to the, the young people on TikTok or whatever and get some, a little bit of popularity. But now they're going to smash the machine. I just wanted to let you know that. And to me, that's a sign of desperation from a visionary leader who used to be interested in healing the soul of America. And by the way, I'm not against smashing the machine. Just to let you know, I'm not that kind of person. I have a rebel spirit, just like anybody who is a really good rebel spirit. And mine is definitely well crafted, well informed for many years of thinking about what does it mean to rebel in a healthy, good, integrated, holistic way. And yes, critical. Yes, critical is fine. But to smash the machine, if we were to go back to, it just reminds me of, Rage Against the Machine, the music group, the young punk group that, played the music. I'm thinking of Marianne Williamson probably took it from Rage Against the Machine. Let's go smashing the machine, her new logo. Lotto, logo, Lotto, it's a kind of slogan for them right now. I think Rage Against the Machine's, great band, very talented. They played the soundtrack for my favorite film of all time, The Matrix trilogy, with the fourth film following years later. And that film was about the machine versus humans. Marianne Williamson knows. She's seen that film. The machine, she understands what that meant. And it's a very powerful theoretical, philosophical, political critique within what that machine, the new techno culture society that we're entering into, AI, etc., and how humans and humanity are going to struggle to be able to maintain ourselves under those evolutions of these new intelligence systems and technology systems. So she wants to rage and smash. But in the movie The Matrix, the main story, if Marianne Williamson and her team will go back there, as I ask you now, go back to that movie, watch it, all three editions at least, if not the fourth, and look at what visionary leadership really means. Really carefully thought out movie script that the Wachowski brothers wrote or wrote with others, etc., that has incredible wisdom in it and a new myth a meta myth really for the 21st century. And what it says is there's nobody in that movie saying, let's go smash the machines. And if they are not the best leaders. They are people who do not understand the deeper spiritual based, soulful based leadership that is actually running as an intelligence in that entire narrative of the Matrix. Neo, classically, if you watch him, does not go out and just smash the machine. He cannot just go out and smash Agent Smith and destroy him. And that is a huge principle of a basic wisdom that Marianne Williamson and team have lost insight into, that kind of spiritual depth of understanding, what it means to fight with and against inside the machine. So I end on that note. It's not about smashing the machine, it's about getting inside it to work and undermine it, but transform it from the inside. Thanks for listening today.